Everyone. I've been given the task to discuss qualitative research. But if you look at even the title page, the title is beyond the numbers, decoding human experience in medicine. I am sure by now you have been immersed in a world of biochemistry, anatomy, and physiological constants. You are learning medicine as a science of what eventually, um, for some of you, you know how to read blood sugar levels, like how many percent of you are, um, if you do a research, how many percent are single and how many percent are actually married. So it's all what. But eventually you realize that what's more important in medicine is, of course, the patient, not not just being treated as a disease entity, but of course the experience of each patient. And I'm sure Doc Chito would always say, you you'd lose your way if you lose your why. Have you heard him say that? O nakalimutan niya na? Yes. And it has that quote always made a mark. And true enough, for qualitative research, it's always why instead of what. It's not enough that the patient is came in with a complaint of a headache. But qualitative research means exploring why the head hurts. So, you know, bakit kaya masakit yung ulo niya? And later on, you realize the patient has been into a lot of stress. So, if you look at this, when you compare and contrast quantitative data and qualitative, it's more important to deal with the one. And of course, the exact experience and feeling of the patient. I'll give you a copy of the presentation. When you look at this picture, what do you see? Anyone? What do you see? Huh? Don't translate it into, don't search na if this is qualitative research, what do you see? But you, what do you see? You can just unmute your microphone. Wow, happiness po, Doc. That's great. That's a very deep feeling. Anyone else? Tignan natin. Ano nakikita ninyo? Diba? What's important in qualitative research is you understand. We'll try to make it easier for you because eventually, uh, you'd realize it's easier to finish a qualitative research. But it's quite deep than any other research. Ano pang nakikita ninyo? Ha? Jane. Miss Jane.
Ay din, yung mga parang bisita ko po sa birthday ko kahapon.
Wow! Belated happy birthday! Parang mga classmate mo to, ano? Kala, kala ko ba online? Oh. Parang hindi yata kami naimbitahan dyan. Anyway, ah, so parang bisita mo sa birthday mo. So it made you remember your birthday. Greg, what do you see?
Kids mo.
Kids. Is it how many kids did you see? Ano nakita mo? Ilang kids ba yun?
Dalawa po yata, Doc.
Dalawa. Naku, pag may nakita ka pang iba, baka meron palang nasa likod, no? Okay. Baka imagination yun. Or malabo lang yung mata mo. Froylene, what do you see?
Ano po, youthful tsaka colorful po yung paligid.
Colorful yung paligid. Very good. Okay.
An ano po, yung feeling ko po magkapatid po yan, tas yung older sister po ina-assist niya po yung kapatid niyang mas bata po.
Great. Um, Josephine, what else do you see?
Bata po na hawak ng madaming lobo. Pero feeling ko po mas madami yung lobo ng babae.
Mas madami yung lobo. So pag bibilangin mo siya, Josephine, ilang kaya yung lobo ng babaeng bata?
10 po yata.
10, okay. So, in essence, this is qualitative research. What you are all saying is qualitative research. While you can always focus on the count of the balloon and how many kids, how many trees, or just the color of the balloons, the color of the trees, who is older and who is younger. There is that interpretation as to its happiness for James. It's also a reminder of one's birthday based on what uh, James said. So, uh, and that is, it's going beyond the numbers. It's going beyond the what. And that is qualitative research. So our objectives for today is that at the end of the lecture, you, the learners, will be able to differentiate between common qualitative research designs and also explain data collection and analysis in qualitative research. My lecture is not an exact repetition of possibly the handout that you have, but you will have a copy of this. The importance of this is you being able to understand the different types of qualitative research. And when you see a title, you will be able to say, this is that type of qualitative research. Qualitative research is a method of inquiry that focuses on understanding. See, it's understanding, it's how, it's why. Human experiences, behaviors, emotions, and perceptions by collecting and analyzing non-numerical data. So it can be a text, a video, an audio, rather than statistics. So rather than just numbers, you will understand words, observations, what you see, what you hear. So most of the time, the researcher can either be immersed into the research or simply looking at or observing. Again, it answers how or why something happens rather than how many. So again, the focus is more of why. So this is, I am sure you had already a lecture on the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Looking at this figure, what can you say about the distinction of qualitative and quantitative research? Anyone? You can just unmute. Parang mas mahirap isulat yun. Yan. Anyone, you can just unmute. Looking at the figures. Miss Lisette, can you compare and contrast qualitative and quantitative research? Just by looking at the figure, this is just a reminder.
Sa quantitative po, more on numbers tayo. And then sa qualitative po, more on interviews and wordings po tayo.
Very good. If you look at the data collection of qualitative data, it's more of interviews, like what Lisette said. Interviews, focus group discussions. While if you compare it with quantitative research, then you use standardized tools like surveys. And of course, you use established scales. And you deal with numbers. Even when you use surveys, it's on a Likert scale. So you label it. So it's still numbered. Any other difference? Pauline? Parang hindi kayo masyadong magme-memorize when I ask the 15 questions in the exam. Yes, Pauline. Given the figures, what else?
I think the figure more on the qualitative is more on data and focus on patient or interviews by persons, while the quantitative is more on data of numerical data.
Yes, it's more on numerical data. That's correct. And we already mentioned that. What is this N? N500, the other one is N15. Grace.
So, parang mas malaki yung group 9 interview sa quantitative as compared to qualitative na may focus groups po sila. Kaya mas maliit po yung data na gathering.
Very good assumption. It means that the sample size required, that's the N, sample size computation. In a quantitative research, the sample size required is big. Why? Because you compute for the sample size. So to make a very good representation, to make the findings generalizable, so you need a big sample. Compared to qualitative research, you only have a few samples. If you look at Creswell, who's an expert in qualitative research, there are times that you can stop with 5. There is a qualitative research that you can only deal with the story of one, just one subject. So that's the M. So subject. So that's a short distinction between these two. So given that, you know that the analysis of quantitative data would be a lot different from qualitative data. Quantitative data would use statistics. Qualitative data would use more often thematic analysis. So let us now talk about the big 5. I will not deal with the others. I will only deal with the big 5 and most common qualitative methods. So I call them the big 5. So first is phenomenology. What is the essence of the experience? Okay. So an example is, what is it like to live with a terminal diagnosis? Like if you're diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, what is it like? So also, if you see a research title saying experiences, lived experiences, that's phenomenology. So it deals with the unique experience of a group of individuals. Now, next is grounded theory. So this is the most difficult type of qualitative or methods of qualitative research. That's grounded theory. That's actually building a theory or a framework from a data that you actually collected. So imagine coming up with a new theory. So you start with, more often, you have an idea somehow of a theoretical framework of your study. But the expectation is that you'll end up with another theory explaining all your findings or all your data. So an example of that, how do medical students develop a professional identity? Because the professional identity of one student may be different from another. One group of students may be different from another. Like us, do we really develop Augustinian doctors with compassionate hearts? If we train you to be that, when you become professionals, is that really seen in you? So there can be a theory explaining that. And is it really the Augustinian theory that we are following, the Augustinian core values? Then that is a big question when it comes to grounded theory. And this, usually grounded theory takes time. And grounded theory is usually a product of a dissertation, a doctoral dissertation. Andito ba si Dali? Who has PhDs here? Franz, Donna, did you deal with grounded theory?
Yung sa akin po, ma'am, Doc, more on phenomenology po. Phenomenological studies, opo.
Ang ginawa mo, oo. They always say, ano, we are so brave when you decide to do grounded theory because it usually takes a long time. Now, next is ethnography. You study the culture of a group. That's why if it's a group and you see like it's studied indigenous people, it's it studied a group of like interns, but the researcher immersed himself or herself in with the sample or the participants, then that's ethnography. Pag hindi niya in-immerse, pag wala siya doon, hindi nila siya kasama, then it's not ethnography. So parang sumama ka dun sa culture nila, sumama ka dun, you stay with them every day for how many months, then that's ethnography. So when you observe the social hierarchy in an operating room, it means that you are there in the operating room. Okay? This is ethnography. If the researcher was really there in the operating room, it becomes ethnography. How about a case study, which is usually confused with phenomenology? The experience is unique, but more often, it can be that particular experience can still be experienced by another. But the researcher decided to just focus on this certain group. So talagang group pag case study. And mas laki yung population niya compared to a phenomenology. So, say there was an intervention. If there was an intervention and you studied the experience of a group of people with that, who experienced that particular intervention, then it becomes a case study. Usually, phenom would just deal with the essence of the experience compared to a case study. So an example is, why did Hospital A succeed during a flu break while Hospital B failed? So ibig sabihin, you are trying to compare the experiences of two groups, but more often, you will just get the experience of Hospital A. The successful survival, for example, of Hospital A during the flu outbreak in the United States, for example. Then, more or less, if you saw that qualitative research study was done, then looks like it's a case study. Now, how about a narrative inquiry? Ito yon, para kang reporter sa narrative inquiry. Diba? Kailangan marites ka sa narrative inquiry. That's the power of the story. This is the kind of qualitative research that you can have only one subject, one participant. Isa lang. So if you see like a day in the life of, tapos sumama ka sa kanya, diba? A day in the life of an obstetrician gynecologist. A day in the life of a dean of a medical school. So you want to know the whole story. And it will be based on chronology and sequence. Di ba pagising niya, ano yung ginagawa niya. So daig mo pa yung gumagawa ng life story. So it's like narrative inquiry is making like a history about the person. So it's always the power of the story. So let us distinguish those methods that can be confusing. So again, if you compare phenomenology with case study, phenomenology is the shared experience, but you usually interview them as individuals. It is very seldom that you do focus group discussions when it's phenom. More often, if you do focus group discussions, you try to verify what the individuals who experience the phenomenon or the experience, you try to elicit that and you compare it with what you will elicit in the focus group discussion. Kasi baka meron kang mamiss. Okay. Creswell would always say that 5, it can be from 5 to 10 individuals. Yung 15 to 20, marami na yon for a phenom. But when do you really stop? When you are hearing the same thing. Di ba? Parang you, for example, you actually decided that you identified 15 samples, 15 individuals. However, on the 10th interview, you are hearing the same thing. So you decided to stop. And you will decide to stop because you have reached the point of data saturation. It means that you're getting the same data during the interview. So a good example of this is a phenomenological study is the moral distress in interns. So it's a shared experience. However, if uniquely mas stress yung mga interns, for example, who are interns in government hospitals, and you decided to interview those per conveniently kasi mas may access ka dun sa interns in Bulacan Medical Center. And you interview them, you do your interview protocol, guys, and you would want to know their experience. You cannot say, are you morally distressed? No. You make open-ended questions that will make them talk. They will just keep on talking. Ikaw, you will just ask in between. But it's usually open-ended questions, not questions answerable by yes or no. Now, how do you compare it with a case study? It's usually a bounded system. It focused on the in-depth understanding of one entity or event. So, for example, analyzing hospital X safety record. So, how do they ensure? Okay? So, you will get these individuals who are actually involved in the record section. And you check on that. You identify what year. Why? Because that year, possibly, there were a lot of breaches on the hospital's safety record. So, it's like you identify one entity or event. So, another confusing, a source of confusion rather, is between ethnography and a narrative inquiry. So, another is between ethnography and that of a case study. The difference of case study is that you can study records and then verify it with individuals, with interviews. In ethnography, you have to immerse yourself within the culture. So it becomes, you look at their shared values and behavior. That's why if you see names of indigenous groups, it's usually ethnography. It's usually an ethnographic study. Okay? So, next is, if you distinguish it with a narrative inquiry, please note, this is group, this is individual, and this is chronology. And you know what? Sometimes a result of an ethnographic study, aside from being able to study the values and behaviors, you can also become the mediator of the indigenous people to the government or to the services that they can be entitled to. A good example is when you have been immersed in that, the lives of, say, for example, the Aitas, and you saw that they do not have access to potable water. The result of that ethnographic study can be what? You can actually be the one mediating or acting on the challenges of the indigenous people. So you can really make a difference just by doing an ethnographic study. I remember my teacher in my masteral. she did an ethnographic study. She's not a doctor. She's a doctor of philosophy and a doctor of education. So what she did was to immerse herself in the lives of the clinical clerks, the year level 4 students of UP-PGA, of UP College of Medicine. So she lived with them for 1 month. So if they do not go to sleep, she doesn't go to sleep. She immersed herself with those going on with a group as to when they go on duty and when they're off. And you know what? She saw that um the area of the clinical clerks then, madumi talaga, 'di ba? Wala silang mapuntahan, lagi silang nasasnatchan ng mga bag. Wala silang security dun sa mga gamit nila. The clinical clerks, the year level 4 students. She made a difference in that ethnographic study. By what? By being the voice of the year level 4 students. And at least now, they have a small quarters in the uh, in the emergency room and in all other rotations. They are now being provided. Pero totoo yun. When I was a clerk, I have never imagined being able to sleep in areas na hindi ka makakatulog dati. Hindi ko na-imagine na makakatulog ng nakaupo. Diba? Hindi ko din na-imagine na makakaligo ako dun sa mga areas na imposible kong maliguan. I remember rotating in San Lazaro. Alam nyo, to me, mas importante sa akin maligo kesa kumain, kesa matulog. No? Because I feel that I am the source of, para bang feeling ko ako yung source ng infection. So I go from one patient to another. In San Lazaro, alam nyo, bumabayad pa ako dun sa mga malapit na bahay. Di ba? Tapos yung CR, yung parang ikaw lang talaga yung kasya. Tapos hindi ko alam kung saan galing yung mga tinabong tubig. Basta makaligo lang ako. No? Because there's nothing provided within the hospital. So, how about grounded theory research design? I had to separate this slide. Why? Because grounded theory research design is both a method and an analysis. So pag ginawa mo siya, it's a method, and also the analysis is in itself is unique with grounded theory. Why? Just like any qualitative research, you do an inductive approach. The research starts with data collection and you build a theory. So from the bottom up, and it follows an iterative process. So ganun din, data collection, data analysis, and theory development. So from the theory, you can actually end up eventually with a framework or a model. So lahat yung mga theories na nakita ninyo, like in psychology, like Maslow's theory, it started with grounded theory design. And you do constant comparison. You notice that in qualitative research, eventually, you start with only a few review of literature. Hindi extensive yung review of literature sa start. Okay? Compared to quantitative data. Why? Eventually, when you're triangulating, meaning when you look at your findings and you want to compare it with the findings of other researchers, then that's when you compare your new data with previously collected data or previous studies. That's triangulation. Say they came up with themes as well, and you compare, then that's why you do constant comparison. And of course, you do theoretical sampling. The researcher would choose new participants or data sources based on the concept. So it need not be just people. Pwede ring old records, pwede ring old interviews, or old thematic analysis. Because you'd want to expand the theory. Say for example, yung Maslow's hanggang dito lang, baka meron kang ma-discover. Okay? And then again, you stop, you end only when you are not seeing new insights or categories emerging from the data. That's why it would take a long time. So allow me to give you research examples so that when you look at it, you already know, this is phenomenology. It's a shared experience. This is ethnography. So phenom is again shared experience. So when you see the word experience or lived experiences, then it's really phenomenology. Alam nyo na, phenom yan. No questions asked. Of moral distress in medical interns. And I hope you know by now that you should not write the local anymore. So, you need not write at La Consolacion University Philippines, you need not write that. Part of data privacy and the ethics of research now, and the technicality of research is that you simply write at a private university in the Philippines or at a private medical school or a government, a state, a medical school of a state university. Don't write anymore the local. So when in second year, when you do your research proposal, please do not write in the title the local of the research. So ethnography, understanding interprofessional communication in the ICU. So if this is an ethnographic study, you already know that the researcher immersed himself or herself in the ICU. But just by looking at the title, you can confuse this with a case study. Yes. So, what would make it ethnographic is really if you know that the researcher is immersed in the ICU, is really there or was really there in the ICU. Next is analyzing a clinic's response to vaccine hesitancy. See, the focus is just a group, one clinic. But of course, vaccine hesitancy is not unique and the response is not exactly unique. But you would like to see if this clinic's response, how this clinic responded to vaccine hesitancy. So when the focus is a certain group, but the phenomenon may not be as unique, then that's a case study. For narrative inquiry, it's a personal story. So look at this. Transitioning from diagnosis to palliative care. So this is an individual who was diagnosed with cancer that was managed stage 2, and then of course eventually did not respond to treatment, and then from the diagnosis of stage 2 it became stage 4, and of course the person had to deal with palliative care, yung wala nang magagawa kasi terminally ill. Okay, and this is just one patient. So that's a good thing about narrative inquiry. But you know what? Usually narrative inquiry has a big chance of getting Scopus Index publication nowadays. So now let's relate it to one case. Or this time, look, is physician burnout. Isang topic lang. But how do you translate it to the different types of qualitative research? So, kung physician burnout, you want to study physician burnout, You want to know, it's a phenomenological study, the essence of the feeling of burnout. Okay? So you interview, say, the internal medicine resident. Okay? Tapos ang lalabas dyan, baka iba yung definition ng burnout. The lived experiences of the internal medicine physicians during the pandemic or the internal medicine resident during the pandemic. Tapos lumabas yung burnout. Okay? Madalas, say for example, you have an identified original title. Alam nyo, after, especially in grounded theory, you'll have a different title in the end. Okay? Yan yung mga, usually very impactful yung title. Now, how about a case study? And you still want to study physician burnout. So, say Mayo Clinic had a wellness initiative because they saw in their statistics that a lot of their physicians in the clinic are suffering from burnout. So they did like a mindfulness activity every month, like twice a month. So that's their wellness initiative. So you would want to know how this wellness initiative changed their burnout rates. So it's not simply like you have a quantitative stats. There was a decrease. You don't want to stop there. You want to know why. And when you want to know why and how it happened, what happened, and how effective was the wellness initiative, because you saw a decline in the statistics, then you do a case study to supplement the findings of the quantitative study. Now, ethnography. So how does the culture of toughing it out contribute to burnout? Ngayon pa lang, as medical students, you're already experiencing this. Diba? Doc Chito asked you earlier, kumusta ba kayo? You know, ganun lang nagsa-start ang qualitative study. Gumagawa na pala ng study si Doc Chito, no? Kumusta ba kayo? Yes. And based on your answers, some would show, pag inanalyze, no, baka ang makita, no, you're trying to just put a strong, or parang you're trying to motivate yourself. Ganon, no? Yun yung mga lalabas na thematic analysis. But this is the physician, the researcher, immersed himself or herself, for example, in the life of the internal medicine resident. So, nakita niya yung culture of toughing it out. Diba? You're trying to put a straw. Pero pag after nakausap yung patient, especially during the time of the pandemic, may kita mo sa sulok yung mga doktor, they're really crying. Because they feel that, especially the elderly patients are they're alone. And that that affects rather their recovery. You know, that's how UPPGH eventually decided to, naalala nyo nung pandemic, sila yung unang ginamit yung cellphone para makausap yung relative nung patient. Because relatives were not allowed. Because the transmission was very, very fast. Sila yung unang nakaisip nun. Because they're seeing the effect on the recovery of the elderly patient. Hindi na nakakausap yung family. They're very much alone. Diba? Kahit dun sa, because the infection rate was very high, hindi nakakausap yung mga family. And minsan, the patient is already dying, never saw a family member. So it affects. And you know what? There was an increased rate of physician burnout. Ang dami nakikita doon sa sulok ng PGA. The doctors were really crying. Diba? That was really getting the most of them. That's true enough. Kasi ikaw mismo, takot ka. And you know what? I'm not sure if you realize that the spokesperson of PGH at that time lost a parent to COVID during that time. Kanino nang galing? Kasi siya talaga yung hands-on. It came from him. He went home. Hindi naman lumalabas yung parents. So you can just imagine how difficult it was. And sabay na sabay yung spokesperson na physician ng PGH with his mom na nagkasakit and eventually passed on. Diba? So, there can be different pictures of physician burnout, and it would depend on the kind of study that you are to do. So for narrative inquiry, you can just ask a physician of his or her story and those moments that led to burnout. So may chronology, di ba? Like during the pandemic. Say for example, those infectious specialists, sila yung hirap na hirap talaga during that time. And then grounded theory. What process or model, baka may bago, that can explain how burnout develops. So naka-discover ka ng bagong theory. And in fact, that theory can be a source of what? A model for the intervention against physician burnout. So pwede yun. No? Any questions at this point before I proceed? Kasi mamaya ako na yung magtatanong. So how do you get the samples? For those who have done qualitative study, paano yung purposeful or purposive sampling? Anyone? Donna, anong sampling ang ginawa mo sa Phenom mo?
Purposive sampling din po, Doc. There would be a specific sampling criteria that the participant should be meeting. May inclusion and exclusion criteria din po.
Okay, that's purposive sampling. Kung sinabi mo first year medical students lang. But you have to say whether they have not been exposed to, like us, we did a research on that, which I will show you in a while. Have not been exposed to dissection, no? Cadaver dissection prior. So, pwedeng yun yung inclusion mo. So, ang exclusion mo, yung may previous exposure. Pwedeng ganun. How about convenience sampling? Meron ba ditong gumawa ng qualitative research na convenience sampling? Anyone? Especially our nurses. Yan yung mga, those who have been previously trained. You can just unmute your microphone. You have done convenience sampling. Or wala. This is very easy. So you just select the easily accessible participants. So for example, medical interns. So alam na, yun nasa BMC na lang. Di ba? Oh, why will you go far? Okay? So, pwede ba yan? Purposive tapos convenience? Sabi ko convenience lang kasi kaya nyo pinili. When you explain that it's nearer to you, that is accessible to the researcher, that's convenience sampling. Kahit maglagay ka pa ng inclusion and exclusion criteria, na kaya doon mo kinuha yung interns and you chose the interns who only from La Consolacion because they are the most accessible to you. Okay. How about snowball? Anyone who did this type of sampling? Ha? Paano ba ang snowball?
Ako rin po, Doc, nag-try po ng snowball sampling before.
So, paano?
In
Paano?
one, so parang may referral system po. Kasi,
Yeah.
yun po.
Parang may initial group ka of participants and then you pass the ball. You threw it to the next one. It's referral system. You referred another group of participants. So it started with the initial set of participants and then this initial set referred the next the other participants. So it's networking, it's recruitment, it's referral. So that's snowball sampling. Next. So how do you collect data in you actually mentioned that at the beginning when I was asking you to compare the picture of qualitative and quantitative. Okay? That's data collection. Okay? Data collection, the art of the ask. Why? Because you always ask in qualitative research. So, how do you do it? So, you can do it in interview. Why do you call it semi-structured interview? Anyone? Why semi-structured? Bakit hindi na lang structured interviews? Semi pa. You know what? You start with one question and you allow the interview to happen. It's not like a survey. You use a survey and then the questions in the survey you ask and it's answerable by yes or no. In qualitative research, you ask, how are you? You start with usually how are you? Kaya I was kidding you na baka make na ng study si Doc Chito. Hindi nyo pa alam. Kumusta ka ba, Grace? Ganyan. Tapos nasabi na lahat ni Grace, no? Tapos yung pala, qualitative research pala yun. No? Oh, yun. But that's how you usually start in a qualitative research. How's life as a first-year medical student in LCUP? Oh, yun lang. That's just one question. And you let it happen. And then in your interview protocol guide, there are somehow questions that will help you elicit all the other things. Eh, Doc, parang wala namang kinalaman yung pagkumusta initially. Yes. Because you would want just to know the experience. Hindi pwedeng targeted agad. Kumusta ba yung pag-dissect mo? Hindi ganon. Hindi ganon agad. You start with a very vague question and then you let it flow. Kasi baka may ma-miss ka eh, kung very specific agad. And again, it should not be answerable by yes or no. Next, focus group. So, you decided on this group, sila lang. Pero madalas, it cannot just be isang group lang. You compare the individual experiences with that of the group. So, verifier yung focus group discussion. Next is observation. Being a fly on the wall in a clinic. What is the meaning of this? Nandiyan ka lang, hindi ka pinapansin, lilipad-lipad ka dyan. So, nakaupo ka lang. You know, in an ethnographic study, you don't say anything. You just look. You see how it unfolds. You can possibly interview, but the initial steps is to what? Just be there. Just immerse yourself in the culture. So that's why they always say you will just be a fly on the wall. 'Di ba? Parang pinatay ka doon. 'Di ba? Na nandun ka lang. Wala lang. Not being noticed. And then narrative collection. This is like being a reporter because it's like a day in the life of a dean of medical school. So it's like writing on seeing a documentary or in a research. So this is simply taking a look at how the data are collected and what happens to that data. In a phenomenological study, so you do the interviews, you would like to elicit the feeling or the essence of the experience, the lived experience, you end up with themes, thematic analysis. In case studies, you do not just focus on the interview. You observe, you look at the record. And eventually, you know what is the uniqueness of this group of individuals who were exposed to an initiative, who were exposed to an experience. So isang buo sila. You talk about them as a group. While here, you'd more often you'd gather the individual experience in a phenom and try to make an essence of the experience, essence out of the experience. In ethnography, there's a lot of field notes because you're there. You have immersed yourself into the culture and a lot of observation. So you'll have cultural interpretation. You'd see unwritten rules. You know what? We exposed ourselves in the. We went to a medical mission and we never realized that we can actually make a study out of it. We go to the mountains of Benguet. We do Tuli mission there. That's when I was in college, we did Tuli mission. That was the medical mission. So it's not just Tuli, it's medical mission as well, and there's dental as well. So we bring our food and we do a climb to the public school, which is somehow on top of the first mountain there in Benguet. So it started like that. We never knew that we can make a qualitative research. But you know what happened? For 3 times, napansin namin, of all the canned goods that we brought, pagdating namin dun sa mountain, tutulungan kami ng mga tao, no? Ang laging wala na at hindi na namin mahanap, yung mga canned ng corned beef. Ang natitira sa amin, na kailangan naming lutuin nung cooking committee, we're there for a week usually. Alam niyo kung ano? Yung lahat ng sardinas. So gumaling kaming magluto ng ibang putahe ng sardinas. So nagtataka kami, bakit nawawala yung lagi, no? And paano siyang nawawala? Yung lahat ng canned goods ng corned beef, wala na by the time na pagdating namin doon sa public school, tas walang ilaw walang ilaw yung public school. So we have to bring mga emergency light and charge it dun sa baba. Yun. Wala na yung corned beef. So, nakita namin, gumaling nga talaga kami sa pagluto ng iba-ibang, and then you can just get the lemons on the trees. Another thing that we noticed, sa gabi, no? So, we just sleep on yung mga sleeping bags na sa floor nung school na yon. Is what? Sa gabi, may dumadaan na sawa. No? Sawa, snake. Dinadaanan niya kami lahat. And you know what? That is my biggest fear. I am really very, very scared. So, the first time I went there, they never mentioned that. But some of our seniors, they knew that for some reason, no, every other night, may dumadaan talaga. Okay? So, and sasabihin sa'yo, huwag ka lang gagalaw. Oh my, I almost died there each time. And then the restroom. That's where we experience the different kinds of pits. And that's where we experience that you can really control your gastrointestinal system na hindi mo talaga kakayanin, no? When it's just a hole there. Oo. So, then we made an ethnographic study the next time we went there. So, those are and also, when we do circumcision, it's not rare that we circumcise the father and the son. Or you can ask me, Dean, how old is the father? We have circumcised as old as 50 plus. No? Mapurol na yung lahat ng surgical instrument namin pagkatapos. And sabay sila. And they speak English well. They're in the mountains of Benguet. So you'd be amazed on how you can actually make a qualitative study out of a certain experience. So how do we analyze the words? We analyze the words by transcribing. So you ask the patient if you can, or the participant, if you can record. Ngayon, ang dali, no? Ang dali. Why? Because you can actually make Google Forms and initially ask the patient to answer there. And then you will interview again, verifying what you saw. Kasi baka nga naman, baka in-AI din nila eh, yung sagot. Kasi minsan ang ganda. Ang ganda ng answer. So, tinamad sagutin. So you need to interview and you can just use your phone to record. During the older times, you need a recorder. And this recording will have to be encoded, usually by a professional transcriptionist. But it can also be encoded by a secretary. Why? Why? Because it has to be encoded verbatim. So pati yung mga expression, pati yung kung nagmura, isusulat doon. Pati yung mannerism, no, ganon. Isusulat din nung encoder. So, it has to be encoded verbatim. And you make meaning out of this coding. You know, nung wala pang applications, I still want to do my analysis manually because the applications may miss it, may miss a detail. So, I really enjoy using the different colors of Post-it. You put the different phrases there, you break them down into phrases, and see if you can make meaning out of each unit. I will show you a sample later. And then you end up with themes. It's like this. It's very impossible that you will come out with more than 5 themes. Please don't. Because it means that you have not coded enough. If you have more than 5 themes. If you end up with 3, good for you. Okay? So, you take a look because some meaning units or codes may still fall under a general theme. So out of these codes, you'll end up with themes. And again, you stop when you are not hearing any new insight. So you can see here, when you interview the 12th person and you hear nothing new, you are done. Diba? Kung umabot ka ng 12, as in our case, we stopped with, I think, 10 when we did a study in UERM amongst first-year medical students. You can just put your questions, if you have questions, on the chat box, or just call my attention. So, this is the analysis in grounded theory. Look, you can do purposive or theoretical sampling because you can use records as well. And then you do data collection. So a lot of data usually for grounded theory because you're trying to come up with a new theory. And you know that there is no previous theory trying to explain. Then you do open coding just like any qualitative research. But compared to other types of qualitative research, you do Excel coding. From the Excel coding, from open coding, in other qualitative research, when you do open coding, you already end up with themes. No. In grounded theory, you still do Excel coding. So after coming up with the themes, you come up with or minor themes, some would call it minor themes. You'd end up with categories. And then you do selective coding before you actually do your theory generation. And of course, your emerging theory is just one. So parang light bulb yun. Oo nga, no? It will explain everything that we are doing. All of the other categories or themes can be explained just by just this one. So minsan, iniisip, main theme siya. Super main theme. Pero actually, that's the theory already. That's the emerging theory in a grounded theory. So I would just like to show you, this is my dissertation. There is no existing quality assurance framework. May mas maganda ng version nito, but I just want to show it to you raw. There is no existing quality assurance framework for a new medical school. And this is my dissertation. I um, I interviewed and got the perspective and experiences of deans from PASCO level 3 and 4 accredited medical school. This is what I'm telling and what I'm saying earlier. You no longer put the local. Hindi ko na sinusulat in the Philippines. Hindi ko na yun susulat. It will be seen in the scope and the limitation of the study as to where you're going to do your study. And then, I developed this framework. You know, out of all the themes that I came out with, in essence, quality medical education is one that is driven by core values. Why? I'll make you privy to this. The medical schools that are PASCO level 3 and 4 accredited medical schools are who participated are from UP, from UERM, from UST. That one in Mindanao, that medical school in Mindanao, those were the medical schools that I was able to interview. Some actually showed their PASCO reports, self-survey reports, and narratives. Some did not. And you'd realize that they are well established and they are established medical schools because they translated their core values into measurable uh, measurable indicators. So essentially everything that they do is within their core values. So yun yung ending, no? And I also interviewed the Augustinian formators so that I can come up with a quality assurance framework for a new medical school and particularly that of LC. So my emerging theory is quality medical education driven by core values. And it is and I developed this quality assurance framework from this emerging theory. That's why you know that this is quality assurance framework kasi may plan, implement, PIMI. May plan, implement, monitor, assess, and improve, which is typical of a quality assurance framework or PDCA, yung plan, do, check, act. Pag nakakita kayo ng ganon, tapos it, it is symbolic in a picture that is a quality assurance framework. So, and then, what is this kind of study just by looking at the title? Anyone?
Fino po,
Anyone?
Doc.
Phenom, yes, very good. Kasi, kami may follow-up question.
Yung
Phenom.
experiences po.
Yes, that's true. Experiences of first-year medical students from their teachers beyond the grade. And this research, I did with the preventive medicine faculty. So ako lang yung anatomy faculty. And this was part of our research in our masteral course, no? And then initially when this was published, parang ang morbid daw kasi teachers beyond the grade. Oo. Then we transformed this into silent teachers eventually. After we have been exposed to the silent mentors of Tsuchi University in Taiwan. So, kasi sila silent mentor, kasi of course the source of their silent mentors are those patients who have donated themselves, their bodies for continuing medical education. Oo, dinonate talaga nila yung sarili nila. So, kilala nung mga students, yung alam nila yung life, nakausap nila yung relatives, nung patient, nung teachers na dinadissect nila. So, mentoring is a dual relationship. So, hindi natin pwedeng tawagin yung atin na silent mentors kasi hindi natin sila kilala personally. And hindi naman nila voluntarily dinonate yung body nila for continuing medical education. And just to give you a sample, so we interviewed, were our questions. What are the experiences, perceptions of first year? These were our research questions. On the first day of anatomical dissection using cadavers. So alam nyo na excluded yung mga nakapag-dissect na before in their collegiate course. Yun. What is the impact of the first day of cadaver dissection on you as a student? So yun pa lang, kinikwento pa lang nila verbatim, yung natatakot sila. So I am sure you are able to relate. Imagine your first day when you were there because I saw you. Diba? Hindi kayo kumikilos. Yung iba nahilo. Okay? To what extent does the cadaver dissection serve its function in understanding human anatomy and in becoming a doctor? Yeah. So the recordings were transcribed, and of course, there were field notes during that time. You know, what are field notes? That even during the interview, somebody is observing. You know, the body language, the change in the tone of the interview, that is being observed, that is being taken into consideration during the field notes. And then the data analysis. This is the resulting data analysis. So we did this. So which I showed you, the usual analysis. It's you do meaning units, that's coding, and then you cluster the meaning units into teams, and you try to come up with this. Or there, these were our themes, emerging themes: fear of the unknown, coping in medical school, sense of awe and amazement of the cadaver's body, respect for the body, and taming of death as a rite of passage to being a doctor. You know, we were so amazed that since during that time, any graduate of any four-year collegiate course can actually go to medicine. Hindi na kailangan ng bridging courses, no? But of course, it's still an advantage if you go through bridging courses. Bridging programs, especially in biochemistry. Well, we were so surprised to learn during that time that there was this group na lahat sila non-BS course graduate. So, and hindi na notice ng mga teachers na 1 week hindi sila nagpo-progress sa dissection. And during the first practical exam, this group, all of them failed the first practical exam. Big time. Why? Because no one noticed that they were not dissecting. Kasi yung cadaver, ginagamit rin siya ng ibang section. Kasi maisip nyo, kung hindi pala nagdadissect yung group na yon, di yung cadaver nila, dapat nakita ng teacher na hindi nadadissect. Hindi makikita kasi that same cadaver, gagamitin din ng ibang section. There were 3 sections of 150 students. per section. So malalaman mo pa ba kung sino yung hindi nag-dissect ng kalahati at saka hindi kasi kalahati side lang sila. That was the setup during cadaver dissection. So that's why we realized that that particular group had a hard time in coping. Pero alam nyo, ang sampling namin nun, purposive, hindi namin naisip na may makukuha kaming sample coming from that group. That they failed big time, hindi sila makagalaw. So the next, after this study, you know what? There was orientation. There was an orientation. So that, and there was also, we had to talk with those who never had any previous exposure. Sabi kasi nung isang student, I have never been exposed to death. Kasi wala pa po akong family. Tapos never pa po ako nakapunta sa funeral. So ibig sabihin wala pa siyang namamatay na relative or namamatay na you know, somebody close to him or her. Yun. Yan. I just want to give you a sample on this, the sample statements that were taken to represent this particular theme so that you'd be able to understand more. While I also noticed that there's a lot of students who are not on the screen. That's fine. I'm sorry. Okay. Yan. I will not become a doctor to treat patients and serve the country. I should not be scared of cadavers, the blood, the blades, and the injections. We have to do it because if we don't, we can treat patients properly and we can't be called doctors. So you have to tame your fear of death as a rite of passage to becoming a doctor. So this is how the statements representing that particular theme were chosen. Diba? Parang lahat to, no, kinolet siya. And we made it represent when we collated it, meron pang iba eh. Tapos we initially came out with 7, 8 themes. And then we realized that when we can put it under a certain theme. Yeah. Okay, let's practice because this is the very essence of this lecture. So you tell me what type of qualitative study is this? I'm sorry, I will call people on my screen. First, experiences of patients who suffered from MI. James, what do you think?
Ano po? Phenomenology po to.
That's right. Oo, merong pinapamigay na keyword, no? Before, they thought that this is case study also. No. There is that word experiences. Next, understanding the decision-making process in a healthcare organization. You saw a certain word. When you want to make a deeper understanding of something, what is this qualitative research method? Rogie Bell.
Doc, case study po.
Very good. Yes. Very good. Next. Living with type 1 diabetes mellitus. Anyone? Living
Narrative po, Doc.
narrative inquiry. Yes. Phenom or narrative inquiry. Kung isa lang to. And yes, this can be confusing, no? Kasi living with type 1. Kung isa lang siya, tapos nasa chronological order yung kwento. Or kung ano nakasulat dito, a day in the life of a patient with type 1 diabetes mellitus, this is definitely narrative inquiry. But if it's just stated like this, this is actually phenom. Kasi hinahanap nyo experience eh. Di ba? No. Pwede itong phenom. Phenom talaga to. If you look at this research, phenom siya. Okay? So, pwedeng hindi, wala yung experience, pero yung living. Kaya nga, lived experiences. O, alam nyo na itong next. Lived experiences of patients with stage 4 CA. Juliana, what type?
Phenomenology po.
Phenomenology. Very good. Next, a day in the life of LCUP-COM clinical clerks. Okay. What do you think? A day in the life of
Either ethnography po or narrative.
very good. Kasi kung naka-immerse si researcher, sumama siya sa clinical clerk, pwede siya ethnography. Pero pag naka-state na ganito, a day in the life of narrative inquiry. So definitely. No? Next, developing a theory of leadership in a collaborative workplace. Charles,
Grounded theory, Doc.
grounded theory, very good. Next, the stories of Japan tsunami survivors, exploring resilience in the face of calamity. Hindi ko alam kung okay sa'yo na tawagin ko yung buong pangalan. Regente? Red ba? What do you think? I cannot hear you. I'm sorry. O sige, type na lang Red. I cannot hear you. Ano kaya to?
Ako.
Yan. I can hear you now. Oh. What is this? Oh, nawala siya. Sorry. Can you hear what he was saying earlier? No. Nawala si Red. Naman.
Kaya sa internet, Doc. Akin na po.
Yeah. Yes. What is it? What is this?
Sa akin po, Doc, phenom po eh.
Phenom.
Yes po, Doc.
Yeah. It can be a good choice. But anyone wants another opinion?
Historical po, Doc.
Historical or?
Narrative
Yeah.
po.
Narrative po.
Yes, collection to ng stories. So, pag maraming stories, yun yung difference. And this was published in the Scopus Index publication. Diba? Pero ang classification niya, narrative inquiry. But it was a collection of stories of each Japan tsunami survivor. So, hindi lang isa, no? So, pwede. But it can be confused because it's the essence of the experience. Pero ang keyword dito that would make you say it's a narrative inquiry, yung story. And eventually, if you read through this research, it's in chronological order. Next, improving student engagement in mathematics. Tignan ko kung makaklasify nyo to. Or may naiisip kayong iba. That's why I included this. Those who have taught, yung mga naging teacher, yung mga teachers, ano kaya ito?
Action research po.
Very good. Sinong sumagot nun? Who answered that?
Opo, Doc.
Sino? Hindi ko na sorry.
Fryline po.
Oh, yes. That is the best answer for this. It's an action research. When you're trying to improve something, especially when it's education, it's an action research. Why? Because a participatory action research. Yung parang ethnographic siya, in-immerse mo, tapos nag-come up ka. Nung merong sinasabi sila na concerns in the community, then you come with, and you're part of those who took action. It becomes, you can develop an action research. That's why I would like to inform you that participatory action research is part of the qualitative research rather, that research methodology. Kasama yon, participative action research or participatory action research. Next, the IBANAGs, culture and practices. Wait, on my screen. Karil,
Ethnography po.
yes. What gave it away? The IPs, right? Yes. When you see our indigenous people, then that's automatically ethnography. Now, this one, first-time voters in May 2025 election. Sophia, what do you think?
Phenomenology po.
Phenom, yes. But you know what? When you look at this study, it's a case study. Why? Kasi ang dami ng first-time voters. Kaya lang chinek lang nila May 2025 elections. But if I look at the interview that was done, to me, it's still phenomenology and not a case study. Okay, but if you look at the research itself, it says case study. Din, pag tinanong nyo po sa exam, ano pong sasagot namin? I'm sure that's the next question. The answer is phenom. Because it's the essence of the experience of being a first-time voter in that particular election. Okay? Yung experience yung tinanong eh. Hindi naman yung intervention nila. Diba? The intervention of coming up with electronic system, etc. So, hindi yun eh. So, it still is, Now, I would like to inform you that qualitative research and qualitative research methods are also being done simultaneously or it was qualitative research is initially done and you call that, or after a quantitative research, and you call those methods mixed methods. Okay. And why is this the trend? Because this has become the trend because now we realize that statistics can also be manipulated. Statistics can also be, and the data can also be manipulated. So to verify and to ensure the reliability or the findings of those data, you can do a simultaneous qualitative data, and that is the convergent parallel mixed method. When you do, when you do the qualitative study first and you verify your findings and you triangulate your findings after with the result of a quantitative study. So, inuna mo, quali muna. That is an exploratory sequential mixed method. You know, when you see an objective that you explore, that this study would like to explore, you already know that it's a qualitative research. Would like to explore the experiences, etc., would like to explore the perspectives of, it means that that is a qualitative research. So that is my best guide. If you do the qualitative research first before the quantitative research, and then you triangulate the findings to come up with to come up with a triangulated data or result, then that is exploratory sequential. So quali first. So you explored first. So after that, you did a quantitative research. Now, what if you did a quantitative research first, and then after seeing the findings of the quantitative research, you do a qualitative research, then that is an explanatory sequential mixed methods technique or mixed methods research. Okay? So, you do it simultaneously, convergent parallel, quali and quanti. Now, if you do a quali first, and then look at the findings, and verified it with a survey, applying quantitative research, then that is exploratory. Nauna yung quali. Pag nauna yung quanti, explanatory. May N sa word. Diba? Quantitative first. Explanatory sequential mixed methods. Okay? So finally, so how do you really decode human experience? And the decoded human experience, we transform to good patient care. The patient, more than just the numbers. The numbers actually count the beats. Usong-uso ang, ano yan? Yung, papa-exercise ko sana kayo ngayon. Na, nung, ano ba? Hawak ko ang beat ba? No? But, patient care is improved, not just of the numbers. The certain treatment decreases the number of mutated cells, etc. But qualitative insights reveal the story behind each of the numbers. Perhaps there was an increase in the number of medical students that were not promoted. But more than that is understanding why students were not promoted. So if you look at the exams and there are more and more students failing the exam, then we don't stop just with the numbers. In LCUP College of Medicine, we still deal with the why in the promotions board. So our actions are not just dependent on the numbers. We ask you, and we would want to know from you. That's why your teachers would always ask you and would talk with you after the feedback is given, after the feedback during not just because they're doing a quality, baka sabihin nyo, siguro nagre-research si Nadine. No. Because we would want to improve, and we would want you to improve on certain aspects of studying that you're actually missing. Mabilis yung intervention. So again, when we try to understand group cultures, when we try to understand individual experiences, we eventually improve on patient outcome and patient care through qualitative research. That's why it's actually decoding the human experience. So in qualitative research, you say it with words, not with numbers. So with that, I think I have facilitated this lecture on qualitative research. You have any question? Meron ba kayong ano? Ha? Wala na?
Questions for the Dean. Dr. Sadol.
Baka may question kayo kay Dr. Sadol. Asa na? Okay. May question kayo si Dr. Sadol yung sasagot. Yeah, do you have any questions as to analysis, etc.? Because eventually, when you're in the second year, you'll apply this on as to whether you want to do quali or quanti. Don't do mixed methods, hindi kayo matatapos. Believe me. While it's very good, don't do mixed methods. Oo.
Ma'am, may question. Is this a statement or a question?
Ano
Mabait
yun?
daw ng mga PrevMed faculty. Question ba yan? Oh?
Parang hindi man ako kasama doon.
Bakit ang mabait naman yata ng mga PrevMed faculty? Dr.
Parang-
Gucci, Dr. Sadol.
Parang wala naman dito. Okay. Anything else?
Meron
Yeah,
pa, Dean. Ang swerte ni Dr. Zulweta. Are you talking about Dr. Zulweta, Faculty of PrevMed or Dean Zulweta?
Dok, Chito, gutom lang yan, Dok.
Questions? No questions for the Dean? Very clear. Qualitative studies. Ma'am, I'm happy. They were
Bakit?
very participative. And ang ganda ng mga ng answers, ha?
Sana nga. I hope that would translate in their performance in the exam. And that they will
in
be
second
able
year.
to... No, their exam.
Exam,
Their
yeah.
exam now. Their examination. The upcoming exam. In answering my questions. I really
10
hope so.
questions, ma'am, or 15 questions?
15 questions. 15 questions.
15.
Okay.
15.
In the exam. So, I think that's about it. I will already leave and I'll
Thank you,
turn
ma'am.
them